Hey guys, this is On Track GP, I'm Jamie Chambers, and these are all the times a driver would have single-handedly won the Constructors title. It doesn't happen often, but drivers can sometimes have such a dominant season that their points tally is enough to beat the second place team in the Constructors' Championship. Max Verstappen joined an illustrious list of names in the world of Formula One stats in 2023 to have collected enough points to win the Constructors' title single-handedly. Although Formula One Drivers' Championship began in 1950, it wasn't until 8 years later that the sport introduced a Constructors' Championship competition. Also, a quick thanks to Planet F1, Sportskeeda and Racing News 365 for all their research and diligence on this subject. The early days of the sport had an unusual point scoring system that meant only the best placed car from each manufacturer was eligible to score points. That meant the likes of Graham Hill, Jim Clark and Jack Brabham all achieved the feat in the 1960s, while Niki Lauda did it more than once in the 1970s. That rule changed in 1979, Formula One allowing more than one car from each constructor to score points at the same race, thus making the times when the driver scored enough points to single-handedly win the Constructors' Championship a lot more difficult to achieve. Only 10 drivers have ever scored enough points to win the Constructors' title on their own, with one having done it 3 times. Max Verstappen's dominant season marks the 6th time this century that a driver has built up enough points in the Drivers' Championship to best the runner-up Constructors' standings. The Dutchman has enjoyed statistically the most dominant season in Formula One history and has set a new win percentage record, besting the 1952 achievement by Alberto Ascari. But what are the other occasions in recent times that the single driver's effort would have been enough to see off the challenge of the next best team? Alan Jones in 1980 by 1 point. Racing for Williams in 1980, Australian driver Alan Jones won the Drivers' Championship ahead of Nelson Piquet to become the Grove team's first world champion. It was a mixed season for the Aussie, as his FW07 and then the revised FW07B either finished on the podium, with the driver winning 5 races, or retired. That kept Piquet in the hunt, but back-to-back DNFs for the Brabham driver at the very end of the season meant Jones took the driver's crown comfortably in the end. His team secured the Constructors' title, while Ligier Ford was second with 66 points, one fewer than Jones had amassed on his own. Niki Lauda in 1984 by 14.5 points. Niki Lauda made up one half of a dominant McLaren team in 1984, the Austrian partner in Alain Prost. While the first half of Lauda's season seemed at times to be one of retirement followed by 1 win, the back half was 1 win followed by 1 runner-up. He scored 72 points to beat Prost to the title by half a point, with McLaren making it a double with the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari was second with 57.5 points. Lauda would have outscored the Maranello by 14.5 points. Prost too outscored Ferrari 14 points ahead. It was the first but not the last time both McLaren teammates had enough points to beat everyone else. Ayrton Senna in 1988 by 25 points. Joining McLaren in 88, Ayrton Senna made up one half of arguably one of the best driver lineups to ever grace Formula One grid, as he teamed up with Alain Prost. That season's McLaren MP44 with its Honda engine was the pick of the field, the car claiming all but 1 pole position. But it didn't just have single lap pace, it also had impressive Grand Prix pace. The teammates won 15 of 16 races, with Senna taking the title by 3 points ahead of Prost, scoring 90 points and 87 respectively. McLaren easily won the Constructors' Championship as they destroyed second place Ferrari, who only bagged 65. The Scuderia's 65 meant that season, Senna could have wrapped up the Constructors' tally all by himself. Then again, so could have his teammate. Nigel Mansell in 92 by 9 points. Winning 5 races on the trot to kick off his 92 season in style, Nigel Mansell set himself up for a title tilt with Williams. With the Renault RS 3C 3.5 engine powering the FW14B, the Briton was the pick of the field 8 times in the first 10 races. However, swapping to the RS4 3.5, he managed just 1 in his final 6 events. But his early season form was enough to guarantee him the world title with 108 points. Williams also added in the Constructors. P2 went to McLaren with 99 points, Mansell outscoring the Woken team by 9 points. Alain Prost in 1993 by 15 points. Sacked by Ferrari at the end of 91 and reportedly paid a significant payment not to drive for any other team, Prost returned to Formula One in 93, having signed with Williams. He won his comeback race, P1 at the South African Grand Prix on a Sunday, in which just 5 of the 26 starters saw the checkered flag. That was Prost's first of 7 race wins, the Professor claiming his 4th and final Drivers' Championship title after scoring 99 points, 16 more than arch-rival Senna. Scoring 99 points, his tally alone put him ahead of second best team in the championship, McLaren, who scored 84 points. Damon Hill in 1996 by 27 points. Damon Hill beat Williams teammate Jacques Villeneuve to the 96 Drivers' Championship title, the Briton 19 points up. The FWA team was in a class of its own, and Michael Schumacher able to challenge the Renault-powered car when it came to pole position. Sundays also went with the team's way, winning 12 of the 16 Grand Prix and on the podium in all but 2 races. The teammates only failed to score in just 1 race, Monaco. As such, the team wrapped up yet another Constructors title, with Ferrari having to settle with 70 points. Both Hill and Villeneuve's tallies were more than 27 points ahead of Ferrari. Michael Schumacher in 2001 by 21 points. The 2001 Formula 1 season saw Michael Schumacher retain the world title that he'd secured the previous year, Ferrari's first since '79. The German won 9 of 17 races and was only off the podium in 1 race that he finished. Ironically, that was Ferrari's home race in Italy. Scoring 123 points, he destroyed McLaren's David Coulthard and in fact beat the entire McLaren team, as the runner-ups only scored 102 points between both drivers. It was the first of 3 seasons in which Schumi won the double himself. Michael Schumacher in 2002 by 52 points. 2002 was the year when the world for the first time got to see Ferrari's dominance look like. Michael Schumacher dominated the entire season, and by the time the season was over, the opposition was buried. This was a season where the grid had no worthy adversary for the German. Mika Häkkinen had just retired and there was no one else that could hold a candle in front of him. The Ferrari driver repeated his 2001 feat with an even greater margin of 52 points. With 11 wins and 17 podium finishes and 144 points, he sprayed the champagne in every single Grand Prix. In fact, in all but 1 race, Malaysia, he was P2 or higher. It was without a doubt one of the most dominant displays from one driver ever. Michael Schumacher in 2004 by 29 points. And then he did it again in 2004 as he romped to a 7th and final Drivers' Championship, a record that stands today, although has since been equalled by Lewis Hamilton. Schumacher's season began with a run of 5 wins, 1 retirement and then 7 wins. On the podium a further 3 times in the final 5 races. The peak of Schumacher and Ferrari's dominance seemingly did come in 2004 when Schumacher racked up 13 wins and 148 points in the season. The dominance was such that the second place BAR Honda could not get close to the Germans' points tally. BAR just scored 119 points for that season. Kimi Raikkonen 2007 by 9 points. The 2007 F1 Championship is more of a freak case than a demonstration of how dominant Ferrari was that season, especially since a little jog down memory lane will help us remember that Kimi Raikkonen won the title from Lewis Hamilton in the last race of the season by just 1 point. Kimi Raikkonen's sole F1 title in 2007 came during his maiden season Ferrari and at the end of a year-long tussle with McLaren. McLaren itself faced multiple challenges that year, with rookie Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso scrapping for supremacy. But a more pressing problem was on the cards when it later emerged that McLaren had access to Ferrari's car designs, sparking one of the biggest controversies in Formula 1 history. McLaren was ultimately thrown out of the Constructors' Championship, but would have scored 218 points if not for the penalty. Raikkonen won the season with 110 points, while BMW Sauber was boosted up to second with 101 points on account of McLaren's disqualification. Sebastian Vettel in 2013 by 37 points. A season where Sebastian Vettel took dominance to a whole other level was 2013. Coming off an impressive title events in 2012, Vettel was in his element in 13. 2013 marked the 4th and final year of Vettel's championship run, the Red Bull driver winning the title with 397 points. It was a mixed start to the season for the German, with 3 other teams, Lotus, Ferrari and Mercedes, also in the mix for race wins. After staying consistent and picking off points wherever he could, the German was already leading the championship before the much needed tyre change was implemented, and that took his title campaign to another level. Vettel reeled off 9 consecutive wins and buried his opposition. While Vettel was P1 in the standings after round 10, the Hungarian Grand Prix, it was by no means a done deal. And then he made sure it was. He went on to have a phenomenal run in the back half of the season, winning every one of the final 9 races to take the title by a comfortable margin of more than 150 points ahead of Fernando Alonso. He also beat Mercedes' tally as runner-up in the team standings by 397 points to 360. Lewis Hamilton in 2020 by 28 points. As 2013 signalled the final year of Vettel's consecutive championship run, 2020 did the same for Lewis Hamilton. But what a way to end it. Such was the pace of the Mercedes W11, the Brackley squad secured all but 2 of 2020's pole positions. Mercedes also featured on the podium at every race barring Italy and Sakir. But it was Hamilton who was the better of the 2 Mercedes teammates. The Briton won 11 of the 16 races in which he participated, Hamilton missing Sakir because of COVID, and secured 14 podiums in total along with 10 pole positions. With 347 points, he beat Red Bull's score by 28 points, the Milton Keynes squad bagging 319 in total. The 2020 F1 season was marred by COVID, and we should ideally just be thankful that we had a season of racing in those conditions. Racing was certainly what we did have, and that season was ideal for that, with Mercedes being dominant across the field the entire season. Arguably, one of the biggest testaments of the dominance was the fact that Lewis Hamilton missed a race that season, was still able to win the title with 347 points in the bag. What's even more interesting to see was the fact that Lewis alone outscored Red Bull, the team that finished second in the championship, with 319 points to his name. Max Verstappen in 2023 by 166 points. Already coming off the back of a record-breaking 2022 with 15 wins to his name, Max Verstappen did not take enough points for the Constructors' glory, though all that changed in 2023. With Red Bull building on the success of the RB18 with the RB19, Verstappen would conquer all before him, winning 19 of the 22 races, finishing second in 2 others and missing the podium just once in Singapore. His 575-point haul representing 92.74% of those points available to him at the season. The highly competitive field behind Red Bull saw Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin and McLaren battle it out at different times, but all the while Verstappen was in front and cruising, eventually leading more than 1,000 laps come the season's end. The most dominant individual season since Schumacher's 2002 campaign, and arguably the finest one-off season in history. The Red Bull driver finished 160 points clear of the Mercedes drivers behind him. That was our roundup of some of the most iconic times a driver would have single-handedly won the Constructors' Championship. Which season was your favourite? Will Red Bull do it again in 2024? Let us know what you think in the comments, and remember to like, comment, share and subscribe. This has been On Track GP. I've been Jamie Chambers. Keep the pedal to the metal, and I'll catch you in the next video.